Welcome to the Shade Chronicles, an anthology-style podcast featuring short works of fiction and serial prose, specifically with a sci-fi and horror flavor. Your hosts for the podcast are Derek Leftridge and Lawrence Trokey.
Hi, this is Derek Leftridge.
Hi, this is Lawrence Trokey, and thank you for spending your time with us. Let's get started with our first story.
Escape Week by Derek Leftridge. Monday, 1:15 p.m. AC-21, short for Airstrike Commander 21, slows his crawl through the ventilation system and then hesitates as he realizes he is over the conference meeting hub since he can see light coming up a couple of feet ahead of him from a grate in the air duct. There's a very important discussion happening below he was not invited to, so he slowly lays flat and turns his head to the left so he can eavesdrop with his good right ear. Down below in the meeting hub are elite council members and airstrike majors from their planet, Moonrise, also known as Earth-5, along with 3 alien engineers and their critical affairs spokesperson from the planet of Lagray. They are having a secret closed meeting about a crucial decision involving both of their planets and their inhabitants. The discussion is about an arrangement between both planets in that Lagray will help protect Moonrise during the solar storm season by sharing their technology to help increase life expectancy by 15 years by eliminating diseases by 70%. In return, Moonrise will give them special access to the rich variety of elements found in their soil that will in turn help their communities survive another solar storm. Unlike the last one that affected their atmosphere and caused half of its population of alien communities to perish because of a drastic change caused by poisonous gases to surround their planet. To humans, this gas would not have had any effect, but with the biological makeup of alien nervous systems of those on Lagray, it was a deadly toxin that took its toll. As the discussion goes over the details, the crucial part of the plan is announced, and this causes AC-21, listening in the ductwork above, to have to physically put his hand over his mouth to stop from gasping in horror. It is explained that with the trajectory of the storm's path, Moonrise will be in the direct area of the destructive storm stream at the time the storm will be coming to an end, but with this type of storm, the end is the worst part because it ends with a huge destructive explosion. With the technology introduced and accepted as commonplace to protect planets and adjust their gravitational pull from the 3001 Galaxy Conference, this system can be used. However, even though the technology exists to nudge and or bump planets out of the way of serious storms and destructive events, the positioning of Moonrise being at the end of the storm stream and most impactful part will mean additional measures will be needed along with the sanctioned technology. A solution by the research from the Alien Council of Lagray is that a manufactured minimal asteroid field will need to hit the planet of Moonrise in a specific area to get it out of harm's way of the storm at the same time as the technology is used. The part that causes AC-21 to clap his hand over his mouth is that this will destroy all living things and scorch the environment of the planet Moonrise in the area of the asteroid's contact and overall affect a third of the planet of Moonrise. However, the engineers from Lagray explain that even though this will be a terrible thing to occur, they have a way to quickly replace the environmental, systematic function and survival of Moonrise after the impact of the asteroids. Their experiments on the elements of Moonrise will advance recovery from many to only 2 moon cycles. One of the Moonrise Council members summarizes, let me get this correct, in addition to the replacement planet technology used to move planets, an asteroid field will need to hit the southernmost part of our planet. This needs to be done to get it completely clear of the solar storm ending explosion that would ultimately destroy our planet. But you have a way to repair and replenish our environment in that area because of research of our elements exported to you in about 2 years rather than 2 or 3 decades. All members of the Lagray group nod in unison. Wednesday, 9:10 a.m. In the same meeting hub from 2 days ago, a morning briefing is occurring. Again, AC-21 is in the ductwork above. One of the Moonrise Council members announces, we have a communication transcript that was authenticated from the most recent airstrike team reconnaissance. It reads, on the 23R.FLY8 trip around the perimeter of the Moonrise planet, approximately 5 sectors away, the storm is showing signs of growth and intensity, and our airstrike team will not be able to make another safe recon trip until the season is over, since the instability will be worse out in the buffer zone in a matter of days, so we need to escalate the decision on the inevitable situation. The council manager replies with a decision. At this point, the only option to avoid overall extinction is for those in the maximum result area to leave and go to the safety of a space station base. The station is in the third quadrant of Aenir's star collection, which is out of the way of the concussion impact. The time to get to the space station base is a 2.5-day trip. All impact area individuals can go in the 2 transport vessels comfortably, but must stay in the space station for no less than 2 years until research, testing, and cleanup can be done for the area for a safe return. Also, there is only room for each person or family to take a limited number of items for the 2-year-long furlough. After this meeting, there will be an announcement made to the evacuation individuals that they will need to be ready to leave Moonrise no later than Friday at 11 a.m. AC-21 climbs out of the air duct, where he has spent time listening to official negotiations, and down into a computer server room, and is startled to hear someone say, AC-21, is everything okay? An individual in an official Lagray planet blazer with the planet's insignia over the left pocket asks, stepping out of the shadows. AC-21 gasps and says in a quiet yell, "What are you doing in here? I was going to meet you before you left the planet in an hour." The Lagray official explains, "Unfortunately, things have changed and they are sending me back before the others in about 15 minutes. I will need your information now to take back with me." "Okay," AC-1 announces. "I have the updated navigation and logistics of the element underground storage area under the impact zone. Isn't this information unnecessary since your people and mine have made the deal this week to share in the element export and use?" "Yes, we have the agreement," the Lagray official confirms. "However, as you and your rebels know, your government can be delayed with their information, and the coordinates of the new location of the storage is an example of this type of delay. We want to make sure to lessen the asteroid impact for the nudging in the area where the elements are stored to protect them." AC-21 replies, "Okay, but one more time. As you mentioned, there will not be any poisonous gas evaporation from the impact to affect any humans or living things. We agreed that you would make sure my family and the other few individuals on my list would be safe while in that area. Again, they need to be in that area to begin setting up for the rebellion before our government of hypocrites and arrogant assholes gets there and starts putting things back the way they were. We, the people of Rise, are going to use this emergency evacuation to take back our planet. I will be on the shuttle with the evacuees and stay undercover until I get a message from the planet that I can return." "Yes, that is what we agreed to, and my planet has accepted it," Lagray official replies. "Good, because this planet should belong to the people, not the corrupt government officials. It is a very fortunate thing you and I met on the planet of Narvo during the Surveillance of Atmospheric Forward Evolution Conference." "Indeed it is," the Lagray official affirms. Later that afternoon, AC-21 enters his dorm home at the officer residence tower where he lives with his wife, mother, and young daughter. He sets down his bag full of work documents and laptop computer and calls his family to the dining room area for a full discussion. He begins, "I want you all to know I love you dearly, and all I work for and live for is to be a better person for you all and to advance our family way of life. As you know, being part of the Rise organization, we do not support any of the Moonrise beliefs and standards when it comes to the governing of this planet. Even though I work for this planet's military force, I do not support them, and as we discussed last month, I will be going undercover on a mission that will start this Friday. You all will stay here, but will need to go with the other families of Rise to the bunkers in the mountains area for safety." His wife stops him and asks, "Why can't we stay in our home? Why do we have to leave to the bunkers near the impact area?" AC-21 elaborates, "It is because of the decision our government has made with the Lagray that we will be part of a planet movement action that will cause some minor destruction to the planet for the betterment of the planet." His wife interrupts again, "Yes, dear, we know about that, but we thought our area was out of the path of destruction and we would be safe here." "You're correct, but I have inside information that the Lagray want to remove our government and become the custodians of Moonrise to help the people of this planet. AC-21 expands further. The rise will need to be in the immediate area of the destruction to be able to advance the recovery and reclaiming of the area before our government returns. So once our government comes back to Moonrise to start their cleanup and eventual control again, the rise will already be in control, and with the information I have given my Lagray contact, they will help us end our government stronghold, and we will have our planet back as it should be. What information did you give your contact that is so important to them? His wife inquires. The updated location of the element storage area to make sure it is protected and all of you and Rise individuals are also, AC-21 answers. Friday, 12:25 p.m. While flying through space at Mach 7.89 speed, the shuttle begins to react to turbulent bouncing, dropping, and shifting, causing individuals on the shuttles to cautiously look around or down, and many to grip their support harness for security. This episode causes an announcement over the public address on each shuttle to be made. Please report to your stations or pod section and secure in as we make our way through this sunsettle episode. We should be clear of the area in about 5 minutes, and then we will be at the destination in 60 to 70 minutes. The PA whines, then a click is heard as it stops its broadcast. Even though subtle, the passengers on the shuttles can hear the abrupt moans and bangs as the ship moves and adjusts to the unsettled environment outside of the shuttle. Communication observers on each shuttle can see the cause of the turbulence and report to the main commander of each shuttle the same observations. We are currently on the northern end of the directed asteroid shower that has a determined trajectory to planet Moonrise. The size and amount of the manufactured asteroids have been confirmed to be 5 times more in quantity and in a much wider pattern than our dictation reports show from the previous meetings. Per calculations, this size of an asteroid advancement will not concentrate on one part of Moonrise as previously agreed, but will hit multiple areas and destroy all resource individuals that remain in all of those areas. The communication is stopped abruptly. The main commanders of each shuttle look to their crew and announce, "There's no turning back now. We have to finish this flight to the space station. Once we get there, we will contact the Council of Lagray and get to the bottom of the change of information." Friday, 1:50 p.m. After landing at the space stations, all are surprisingly met with representatives from Lagray. As everyone looks confused, the Lagray spokespersons announce, "We of Lagray are glad that you have all made it to the station, and we want you all to know you are safe from the solar storm, as we of Lagray are. You see, your planet has many riches that we need to survive, and we will need you all to help us mine for those resources. You're a chosen group of special revolutionaries who will be rewarded with life, unlike those left on your home planet, who are being eliminated. Once the unsettled solar season ends, you'll go back to Moonrise, or should I say Gullray, our new resource planet. And you and your family will work on getting us what we need. And in turn, you can work, live, and rejoice in the knowledge that your people were sacrificed so all of you can be part of a superior race." In shock, all the evacuees look at one another, realizing this was never going to be a cooperation between two planets, but a way to get slaves for a devious alien race. The Lagray representatives continue. "Now do not worry, you all have survived, and will continue to survive because of the great decision we have made, and with help from one of your own. Those remaining on Moonrise will be missed, and immortalized as soon as we can locate all of them. Earth 5, also known as Moonrise, will be enhanced and brought to the top of the Planet Council listing as we create Gullray from its ashes and destruction." The representatives from Lagray raise their left hands and chant simultaneously, "Gullray is the way! Gullray is the way!" Airstrike Commander 21 puts his hands up to his face, covers his eyes, and whispers to himself, "No. No."
Attention Shade Chronicle Podcast listeners. The merchandise store is now open. You can find the merchandise store on the merchandise tab on the Shade Chronicles website, which is at theshadechronicles.com. Find premium t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, travel mugs, ball caps, and more at the Shade Chronicles Podcast merchandise store. We now resume your regular programming. Day by Lawrence Trokey, Part 1. He sat across the table from her, anxiety building as he watched her eat the last bite of tiramisu. She daintily wiped her mouth and laid the napkin on the table. It was the conclusion of a $750 dinner at the best restaurant in town. It started with French wine, followed by hors d'oeuvres, made with truffles. Next was a lobster bisque, accompanied by gourmet breadsticks. The entree was Chateaubriand, baby potatoes, and grilled asparagus. The tiramisu was the piece de la resistance, topping off a world-class meal that came with a view of the Chicago skyline from the 24th floor of a luxury hotel where they were to stay that night. She noticed him staring at her with an expectant look on his face. She offered a soft smile and sipped her wine. He could not take it anymore, so he broke the silence. "How was it?" She smiled again and sat down her wine glass. "It was good. Really good. Thank you." They were celebrating their 5th wedding anniversary. Having been married this long and knowing her for almost 8 years up to that point, he knew there would be another shoe yet to drop. "The tiramisu was especially good, considering," her voice trailed off. "Here it comes, the other shoe." "Considering?" he asked. "Well, I was just thinking something was slightly off with it. Maybe the chocolate was a little stale? I'm not sure. Still, very tasty despite that." She sipped her wine again. His stomach tightened, and his hands were clammy now. He had tried so hard this time. "I thought the Chateaubriand was perfect, didn't you?" He tried to steer her back to a more positive viewpoint. "Yes, it wasn't bad. A little chewy, but it had a nice flavor." His heart sank. "What about this world-class view, huh? Chi-town at night? How romantic." He tried again. "Yes, maybe, but where I'm sitting, there's a glare coming off of one of the buildings that keeps hitting me in the eyes. You don't see it, do you?" "No, I'm sorry. We could have changed chairs if that was a problem." She waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, you know me. I don't want to be a bother, and I don't like to complain." He suppressed a snarky chuckle at that one. "Is there anything else I could do to make the evening better?" "Oh, Alex, it's fine. I think I'm just a little tired. Also, the wine is giving me a headache." It was a $100 bottle of wine, he thought. How could it have given her a headache like it was a bottle of Mad Dog 2020? She grabbed her clutch. "If you don't mind, I'm going up to the room to see if I can get rid of this headache while you get the check. Is that okay? Maybe you could run downstairs and see if they have any aspirin in that sundry shop we saw when we came in?" "Sure, no problem. I'll see you in a few minutes." The evening was sinking fast. He knew by the time he got to the room, she would be asleep, so the opportunity for sex was out of the window too. He would sulk his way back to the room, put on his pajamas, and climb into bed next to her, only to lie awake for over an hour trying to figure out what went wrong this time. It was always something. The expensive memory foam mattress had a lump in a funny place that caused her trouble with her sleep, even though Alex could never find it. The luxury EV she drove was too responsive when she depressed the pedal, and it made her nervous. Their home in the affluent Chicago suburb with a waterfront view and a built-in pool was fine, except the trees dropped those spiky gumballs every fall. When she jogged, she was always worried about slipping and falling. Alex loved his wife, Maggie, with all of his heart. He fell in love with her in college as an undergrad. He did everything he could to make her happy for the first 13 years they had been together, and, up till now, he never quite got it right. Being a perfectionist, it drove him mad to think that he could not make Maggie truly and completely happy no matter how hard he tried. A few days later, Alex was eating lunch in the break room at the law firm where he was a 5th-year associate. It was rumored that Alex was on a fast track to becoming a partner faster than any associate in the firm's history. Alex was an excellent lawyer. The secret to his success was his incredible gift for details. He was meticulous in capturing even the most obscure particulars of any case he worked, and many times it was his attention to specifics that helped him create a winning strategy which propelled him to the top of the list of potential new partners at his firm. His friend and fellow associate, Angelique, entered the break room and sat down at Alex's table. She knew about Alex's big night and was anxious to hear how it went. "There he is, Mr. Anniversary," Angelique announced as she sat down. "How did everything go?" "I wish I could say it was perfect, but..." Alex's voice trailed off. "What did Maggie have a problem with this time?" Angelique said as if she was expecting this. "Oh, just the food, the view, the hotel's bedding, the water pressure in the shower, and the speed of the elevators, but that's really it." Angelique brought a hand to her forehead in disbelief. Are you shitting me? She said in disgust. That's a 5-star hotel. The restaurant has 2 Michelin stars, for Christ's sake. Alex nodded in agreement. I know. What is wrong with her? Seriously. What the hell do you have to do to make her happy? Alex smiled with a bit of sadness in his eyes. I wish I knew. I mean, you really did your research on this one. You had the chef put together all her favorites in a meal fit for a queen. You even went to the hotel manager to make sure the room was set up to her liking. And she still found fault with it. Angelique was in a state of disbelief at Alex's circumstance. She sat there in stunned silence for a few moments while Alex ate his salad quietly. Look, Alex, I'm sorry for what happened, but as a friend, I'm going to say this, and I don't want you to get mad at me. She paused, looking for his approval to go on. He nodded again, and she continued. Maggie is just someone who cannot be happy. There is something wrong with her. You got to stop trying to make her happy because it will only end up making you miserable. She reached out a hand and placed it on top of his, emphasizing she was trying to console him. I appreciate what you're saying, but he paused to steady himself. I have no choice. I love her and I want to make her happy. I can't help myself. His expression had the look of someone sentenced to life in prison. He was trapped in an unsolvable puzzle, doomed to try to find an unattainable solution. They sat there together in a break room for several minutes in silence. Then Angelique rose and placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. You're a good man, Alex. She patted his shoulder and then left the break room. A couple weeks had passed since Alex's conversation with Angelique, and he hadn't seen her since. His workload was quite heavy at the time, and he spent most of his time in his office or in meetings with clients. He was returning to the office after another meeting when he saw Angelique fast approaching him at the elevators. She waved a hand at him to come see her, and he did. Alex, I got a solution for you. Do you have a few minutes? Alex wasn't sure what she meant. Do you mean regarding the DeLuca case? No, about Maggie. Come with me and I'll explain. She grabbed Alex's arm and pulled him towards the break room. In the break room, she sat him down and began to explain. I had a meeting with a new client a few days ago who I think can help with your situation. He's a life counselor who specializes in relationships. I can't name names, but he works with some very important people, famous people. And when I told him about you, he was very intrigued. Angelique was almost giddy to tell Alex her news. You told your client about Maggie and me? Alex was a little stunned at this. Look, I know it's none of my business, but I care about you, Alex, and I want to be there for you. This guy sounds like he can truly help you figure things out with Maggie. She looked at him with real concern in her expression, and Alex appreciated her support. Who is he? Alex was now curious. His name is Adrian Gehenna. Here's his card. She handed Alex an all-black, glossy card. When Alex looked at the card, the lettering was raised and in a matte finish so you could read the letters. It was a very exotic-looking card for someone who was a counselor, Alex thought. He told me to tell you to come by his office tomorrow around noon for a free consultation. He was so interested in your situation, he was willing to waive his consultation fee. Again, Angelique's enthusiasm was overflowing. I can't do it tomorrow. I've got a lunch with a client. Angelique cut him off. Alex, you have to meet with him. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to fix all your problems. Don't throw this opportunity away, she was adamant. I guess I can reschedule the lunch. Alex was non-committal in his tone, but he knew he would abide Angelique's will. I got to go. Good luck. She gave Alex a hug on the way out of the break room. Alex sat there for a few moments, staring at the odd business card before returning to his office. Just before noon the next day, Alex arrived at the office of Adrian Gehenna by way of taxicab. He stood on the curb for a moment, looking at the office building, wondering if this was really a good idea. He knew he needed to at least attempt to give it a shot in order to keep Angelique from being mad at him, so he reluctantly entered the building and went to the bank of elevators at the end of the lobby. He scanned the digital directory for Gehenna's office, and it was on the 13th floor. That was an ominous start to all of this, Alex thought. He rode the elevator to the 13th floor and went to Gehenna's office number, 1313. This guy was doubling down on the whole number 13 thing, Alex thought. Alex entered the office expecting to be greeted by a receptionist. There was no one attending. He looked for a buzzer or a sign-in book, but they were also missing. The office was decorated in a modern feng shui style that was simple, balanced, and yet somewhat cold. Not sure how to proceed, Alex took a seat on the modular sofa and pulled out his phone to make sure he was at the right place. A second later, a door opened from the other side of the room, and a tall, dark-dressed man poked his head into the room and said, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Gehenna will see you now. Alex was a little startled at the fact that they knew he was here and they were expecting him. He had not set an appointment, so he thought this visit was supposed to be just a quick drop-by, informal. He stood up and entered the next room. "Thank you," he said to the attendant. Alex passed through the waiting room, also having the same cold yet balanced flowing decor. The tall, dark man showed him to the door to Gehenna's office, which was the only thing in the room that did not match the rest of the decor. It was a massive, heavy wood door, very ornate, with intricate etchings and carvings. It looked like it came from the set of some fantasy adventure movie where elves and dwarves existed. The receptionist opened the door with some effort for Alex. It was the kind of door that could have held behind it the secrets of the ages, Alex mused. Boy, this guy Gehenna was certainly one who liked drama. The receptionist followed Alex into the room and offered him a chair opposite a large desk made of black marble and steel. The rest of the office was rather sparse. There were a couple of freestanding modern art-style statues in the corners, and that was it. The large, floor-to-ceiling windows offered a spectacular view of the city skyline beyond. "Mr. Gehenna will be with you in a moment. Can I offer you a beverage?" the receptionist asked. No, thank you. I'm fine," Alex responded. It was the first time he got a good look at the receptionist, and it gave Alex a moment of pause. The man was tall and had slender features. His head was shaved bald, and it was perfectly symmetrical, as were the features of his face. Alex wasn't sure if the man would be considered handsome. He was just perfect. The receptionist left the room, and Alex sat staring out the window at the city. He was a bit uncomfortable at the odd experience he had had so far, and was thinking of making up an excuse to leave. Maybe an emergency phone call from the office, he thought. Just then he heard someone say, "Alex, I am so glad you came to see me. It is a pleasure to meet you." Startled again, since he didn't hear anyone enter the room, Alex turned to the sound of the voice. Adrian Gehenna stood behind him, with his hands folded together. He wore a dark three-piece suit with a long tuxedo-style coat that seemed a bit old-fashioned to Alex. Yet his suit was clearly very expensive and immaculately tailored to fit Gehenna's tall, slender frame. He wore his hair short and matted to his skull, and his features were sharp. Dark eyes, razor-thin lips set in a chiseled face. On his lapel, a blood-red rosebud, which was the only bit of color he wore. Alex started to rise, but Gehenna said, "Oh, don't get up. We have much to discuss." Gehenna walked quickly to his desk and was seated before Alex could react. "Thank you for meeting with me," Alex offered, still unsure of the whole thing. "My pleasure, of course. Once your colleague described your situation, I knew you were the perfect candidate for my counseling." "Well, to be honest with you, Angelique tends to exaggerate some, so this may not be necessary." Alex started to try to find a way out of this meeting, but Gehenna cut him off. "Oh, nonsense, my friend. You see, I have done research into your situation, and I know you are in desperate need of my services." Research, Alex thought? What kind of research could he have done without knowing hardly anything about him? Gehenna leaned across the desk and fixed his eyes on Alex. "You see, Alex, I know what it's like to be frustrated by goals that seem unattainable. You work so hard to achieve something, and then to have it ripped away from you." Gehenna smiled at Alex, but it was not a warm, friendly smile, more ironic. He went on, "With my help, I can navigate you around the obstacles that stand in your way. Together we can achieve the desires of your heart. You need only trust me and allow me to be your guide." Gehenna sat back in his chair and rested his hands on the desk. That's interesting." Alex wasn't sure if this guy was a quack or really believed what he said. "I can see you are a skeptic. I have encountered many before, and they all end up the same way." How do they end up?" Alex taking the bait Gehenna dangled. "Believers. They believe, Alex, because I have shown them the true way to happiness." Gehenna smiled at Alex the way a lion might smile at a gazelle. Uh-huh. Alex was still uncertain of all of this. "Give me a chance to prove to you what I say, at no cost to you, of course. Then once I have convinced you, you can decide how you want to proceed." Gehenna stood up and walked around the desk to stand in front of Alex. "I suppose there's no harm in that. I hope you don't take any offense at my being a skeptic. This is just all very new to me." Alex apologized, hoping he didn't offend Angelique's new client. "None taken, my friend." He reached out and offered Alex his hand. Alex stood up and took it. When he did, a wave of something passed through him. What it was, he wasn't sure or could even describe. It was like a trembling, nervous feeling that had passed from his head to his toes in a flash and then was gone. Gehenna took Alex's arm while he shook his hand, and Alex thought it might have been to help steady him, although Gehenna did not make any mention of it or seemed alarmed in any way. Next, with a gentle nudge, Gehenna was showing Alex the door. Take the next 48 hours to think on it. Within that time, I will send you a package that will help you decide. When you have seen the proof of what I say, come back here and we'll discuss the details of our contract." "Okay, thank you again," Alex said, sounding a bit confused by what just happened, but still complying with Gehenna. "Good day, Alex. Watch for the package." With that, Gehenna closed his office door, and Alex walked out to the elevators feeling like he was in a trance. It was several minutes before he felt like himself again. The next day, Alex returned home from work and found a package on his front porch. There was no label indicating who had sent the package, but judging from the all-black wrapping paper, Alex figured it was from Gehenna. He wasn't sure if he wanted to open it, but after a few minutes of staring at the package, curiosity won out, and Alex used a kitchen knife to cut through the wrapping paper. Inside was a delicate wood box with a hinged lid. It had engraved markings similar to those Alex remembered seeing on the door to Gehenna's office. Alex slowly opened the box. It contained a simple silver charm on a silver chain. The charm was a disc with an engraving as well. It was an image of the horizon with a star rising above it. A morning star? Alex wondered. He removed it from the box and realized it was a necklace. Inside the box was a slip of paper with a note. Alex unfolded the note to read it. "A small token of my appreciation for the start of our new friendship. Enjoy." This was a strange kind of promotional tchotchke, Alex thought. Most firms give out water bottles or desk calendars, not jewelry. Alex held the necklace in front of him for inspection when Maggie entered the kitchen. "What is that?" she said with surprise and much interest. "Oh, it's a gift from a client. Actually..." Before Alex could correct himself, Maggie was in front of him and gently took the necklace from him. "It's beautiful," she whispered, the sound of longing in her voice. Alex was surprised by her reaction. Sure, she likes jewelry, but there was always something that was not quite right with anything he ever got her in the past. It wasn't the right color, it was too big, it was too small, etc. "Would you like to have it?" He offered it to her even though she was already putting it around her neck. "Really? I can keep it? Oh, Alex, I would love that. It is so beautiful. It's perfect." Alex was stunned. This had never happened with Maggie. Ever. The necklace wasn't even that ornate, nor did it have expensive gems. It was just a simple piece of silver on a chain. "Please, take it. It's yours." He smiled at her and watched her gush over the gift. Then she stepped in close and gave him a passionate kiss that rocked him from his head to his crotch. "Thank you so much," she said, and she gave him a sly smile. She gently took his hand and led him upstairs to the bedroom. What followed was the most amazing evening of Alex's life. Maggie seemed possessed by such an incredible, insatiable lust that he wasn't sure if he could keep up. But when it was over, she was blissfully asleep at his side while he stared wide-eyed at the ceiling, still reeling from the experience. When sleep came, it was the deepest, most restful sleep he had had since he was a child. In the morning, he awoke to the smell of breakfast being prepared downstairs, and soon his appetite compelled him to investigate. He slipped on his robe and slippers and went downstairs to find Maggie putting the finishing touches on his favorite breakfast dish: French toast, scrambled eggs, and bacon with a glass of chilled orange juice and a cup of his favorite coffee from the coffee shop down the road. "Wow, this is awesome. Did you do all this for me?" Alex asked as he sat down at the table. "I woke up feeling so energized this morning that I had to do something. Maybe that lump in the mattress had finally worked itself out? I don't know, but I slept like a baby regardless, and when I woke up, I almost jumped out of bed ready to start the day. I wanted to say thank you again for the lovely necklace, and especially for last night." Another sly smile crossed her face, and Alex almost blushed. Alex devoured the meal like a wolf at an all-you-can-eat sheep buffet. Afterwards, he dressed for work and kissed Maggie goodbye. Again, the kiss was spectacular, indicating the promise of things to come. On the drive to work, Alex reflected on everything that had happened yesterday and this morning. Maggie seemed like a new person. The change was instantaneous, like someone flicking on a switch inside of her. She seemed happy, completely. He had never seen her like that before. It didn't seem natural, like she was under the influence of something. It all started with the arrival of the gift from Gehenna, the necklace. To be continued next time on the Shade Chronicles Podcast. So that wraps up episode 4 of season 2 of the Shade Chronicles, and we're here to do the commentary about that, talk a little bit about the stories that were featured in this episode. The first story was Escape Week by Derek Leftridge, and I got to say, Derek, I mean, again, you impressed me with how dense this story was with all the details. You wrote a true, honest-to-God sci-fi story, which I was just like, holy cow, this like took me back to watching Twilight Zone or some of these other really intense sci-fi stories. You had everything in it. You had the technology in it. You had the drama with what was going on with the aliens and the double cross that comes at the end. Again, no need to talk about spoiler alerts because you guys just listened to the story. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what inspired you for this story?
I think basically with this story, it was a sci-fi. I wanted it, and a lot of the sci-fi stuff that I have seen, it seems like it's very political, and it seems like it's something to do with that type of stuff. And that's what I wanted it to be, and I got into the weeds on a few things, but I really wanted to explain what was going on, the political part of it, and the science part of it, the like I say, junk science that I do, of what it is, but something that could be possibly explained and make somewhat sense. You know,
Sure.
There's an organization that decides, okay, we get these solar power storms that come through, and we're going to okay this type of technology to move planets out of the way, which I don't even know if that's even possible. But anyway, move planets out of the way. However, the aliens say, well, we know we've done our technology and we've realized that because we've had storms also that affected and killed some of us, so that we know you have elements there that help you, and we want to help you out by moving you even further out of the way to make sure you're safe. And then ends up, that's where the science part of it is. The political part of it is the main character is part of a group that's rebelling against the government, and they want to be on the planet, you know, to be able to take care of the planet before the government comes back down for cleanup, basically. And then at the end, you have the situation where the aliens actually, you know, have taken the people that have escaped or left the planet to be safe, and knowing that there are people on the planet that are still there, because the whole thing was the entire planet wasn't going to get destroyed. Well, now it is. Those people are gone, and now these aliens are going to want to get, you know, connection to their elements and things like that. So, you know, recapping the entire story, but basically just wanted to have it all kind of cover all I could in the story of the politics, the science, and, you know, the character development for that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're packed a lot in here because you've got not only the relationship between the two civilizations, the human civilization and the alien civilization,
right?
But then you've got the rebellion that's happening on the human side, where this rebellion is hoping to overthrow the government during this crisis and take over, and you know what's going to happen there. But then the aliens pull a double cross on them all and fool them all, and now the humans end up enslaved at the end. So, I mean, again, I was just like, wow, man, you really had a lot going on in here, and it was pulled off very well. So I really appreciated the story and enjoyed it immensely.
Well, thank you. Okay. And the other story on episode 4 was Lawrence's story, the first part of A Perfect Day. And this one was interesting. It was, at this point, at least in my mind, it's not sounding horror or sci-fi. It is sounding like a wife that is not very happy with her husband or very satisfied.
Sure.
So poor Alex. However, I do like the character development so far, and I am intrigued to find out what the heck this necklace has to do with anything. And I know that's going to be something that's creepy / something that's going to be entertaining. But just kind of go over your opinion of writing the story, if you don't mind.
Yeah, certainly. So I jokingly tell my wife that she inspired this story because of her, in my mind, pickiness about certain things. I'm sure she would say I'm picky about things as well, and she wouldn't be wrong. I mean, we both have our opinions about things, and we love to share it with each other. So that was the inspiration for this particular thing, is that this guy, in his mind, he feels that he can't ever do anything right 100% for his wife. And, again, not picking sides. It's just, I'm a male. I can understand the male perspective. So that's why the way I wrote it. Certainly I'm sure that in the big scheme of things that he's got his own problems that Maggie would be happy to talk to him about. But at the end of the day, we focused on that because of the humor I could find in it and all the details and things. So this guy is trying to figure out a way to just knock it out of the park, make sure that he has done it 100% perfect and right. He's a perfectionist, which adds to the problem, and he doesn't seem to be he's not able to pull it off. So he's frustrated, and then he shares his frustration at work, like a lot of folks do with their coworkers, talking about their spouses or kids or whatever problems that are going on in their lives. And the coworker in this case has a solution for him. She's met this guy who apparently is interested in Alex's particular circumstance and feels that he has an answer, a solution for Alex. Even though Alex is hesitant to go forward with this, she talks him into it because she's very insistent, and Alex doesn't want to disappoint her. So that's kind of the premise of what's going on here. And yes, you meet this character that claims to have some special knowledge, some special insight into the human psyche that he can tap and apply advice or methods or whatever to fix the situation. We still don't know what it is yet, but Alex isn't 100% convinced because he's a skeptic. He's just been beaten down too many times and feels that there's no perfect solution. So then this necklace arrives, and the interest that Maggie shows in it immediately.
180 change.
180% change. And that's the clue to what's going to happen in the second part. What happens to Maggie in the first part is what is going to tip Alex off into what's going to happen in the second part.
It'll be interesting. I'm ready to hear it.
Yeah, it's it was a lot of fun to write. I had a good time with it, and it's a lighthearted, it's barely supernatural at best, but there is some, creepiness in it that makes it just enough to, I think, be justified to be part of our series of stories.
Right.
And, we're not doing anything super heavy or super hardcore here. We're just having fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it and are looking forward to the second half.
Yes, well, I know I am, so I'm sure everyone else is.
All righty. So that is the end of episode 4 of season 2 of the Shade Chronicles. We've got a sneak peek at what's coming up with episode 5 in just a moment here. Again, we thank you for listening and hope you enjoyed it. And here is your sneak peek. Next time on the Shade Chronicles.
The station announcer delivers in a deep, urgent tone. KCIL breaking news update. Then the newscaster starts. Hello, I am Marcia Sloan, and our breaking news is on the most recent development from the situation we've been following in the Following Up social site investigation. We now join Corporal Matthew at the police station briefing room with details. The view switches to a room with a podium as Police Corporal Lionel Matthew moves toward it, flanked by officers, and begins to speak. Good evening. We have updated information on a developing situation involving the contacting, abduction, and ultimate harm or death to followers of the #KillDone handle on the social media site Following Up. He can hear footsteps and what seems to be grinding and sharpening from behind him. Charlie cannot turn to see who it is or what is going on, but he calls out, "Hello? Is someone back there? What am I doing here?"
Alex crossed 3 lanes of traffic, cut off a semi-truck, and sped down the exit lane. He drove like a madman trying to escape a demon chasing him. "You don't understand. He's not who you think he is," Alex was insistent. "I'm sorry. I sense some tension here. Maybe I can help." Gehenna stepped towards the couple. "Back off," Alex shouted at Gehenna. "Alex, what is wrong with you?" Maggie was appalled at Alex's behavior. "Maggie, he gave me the necklace. I know this sounds crazy, but it's true. Now he wants it back, and if I don't give it to him, I'm screwed." Thanks again for listening to the Shade Chronicles. For comments or inquiries, you can contact us at shadechron@gmail.com. That's SHADECHRON@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also get more information at theshadechronicles.com. The Shade Chronicles Podcast is the creative property of Derek Leftridge and Lawrence Trokey. Stories in this podcast were the sole creation of Derek Leftridge and Lawrence Trokey, respectively. Any attempt to replay for broadcast or distribution portions of any episode of the Shade Chronicles without the prior written consent from the creators and/or significant compensation is strictly prohibited. Shame on you for even thinking about it in the first place. Thanks again for listening. Tune in next time for another episode of the Shade Chronicles.